Praise the Lord. I'm Bishop David G. Evans, and I am so honored to take the time to talk to those of you about something that I think during this time that we're living deserves critical understanding. I don't know about you, but there have been times as we have this conversation, pastors and executive pastors, men and women of God who are leading somewhere, responsible for the direction of the people that you're leading, responsible for purpose being fulfilled, responsible for the desires of God in the spiritual context being fulfilled, but also the mission of the corporation or the business that you're a part of. I'd like to talk to you for a moment from a personal point of view as well as from a theological point of view as it relates to losing your passion for your own vision. There's a couple of things I think that have impacted my vision from time to time. Now, many of you know that I've been pastoring God's church for 30 years. I've been saved since 1976. That's some kind of crazy number. Wow. It's a high number. And I would be less than honest if I didn't tell you that during those times, even though externally it looks like God has been unfairly kind to us for 30 years, I need you to know that there were times when the lack of manifestation, what I saw as a lack of progress because I didn't understand the process of God, sometimes the lack of physical help, God sending people without issues to help, have dimmed the light of my vision. I'm telling you straight up. Took the heat right out of my passion and even challenged my faith in the vision I said God gave me. So I've been through periods, plural, where I struggled with God not blessing me in the timely fashion that I thought, God not shifting the ministry during the timetable that I desired, where I wondered where were all the gifted people that would come and help rather than come and try to destroy and take over. And it took the light out of my vision, heat out of my passion. And there were a couple seasons where doubt got injected in my vision. Now, you and I both know, especially as spiritual leaders of businesses and corporations, I don't know about you, but I lead in the church context about 7 or 8 nonprofits and 2 for-profit organizations in addition to the church. So you're going to understand what I'm trying to tell you. All that I've said to you kind of congeals in doubt. And doubt is the enemy of manifestation. I began to understand, leaders, I began to understand that I was discouraged by the process because I did not recognize that when I'm in God's will, process is progress, and I don't have the liberty of controlling the speed of God's process. So at one time, I believe I became blinded by the lack of visible confirmations of the validity of my vision. I actually got discouraged, if they were there, I couldn't see them. Because once again, it took several years for me to realize that when I'm praying for a thing and God it begins to manifest it, the initial manifestation doesn't look a thing like what I have prayed for. Watch the context now. So there's this guy that sows his seed in the field, and he comes back, there's nothing but a leaf present. Now, if he wasn't experienced, he'd become discouraged that what he prayed for was not being given by God because the leaf doesn't look like a full ear of corn. He comes back again, finds himself looking at something that appears to be what he's prayed for, but it's empty on the inside. I went to school on a farm, so I'm explaining some stuff to you. So the first two indicators, there's one indication that something is coming up that looks nothing like what you prayed for. The second manifestation looks something like it, but it seems to have no substance to it. So there's a glimpse of it. And I've got to wait until the full ear, according to the text, is developed for me to understand that what I prayed for is actually being manifested. This makes sense. Elisha's big struggle was his journey did not give him any visible evidence that what he had been promised was valid. All he got was discouragement from his contemporaries and even discouragement from Elijah. And Elijah put some details in his contract. If you see me when I go, if you're close enough to see me, if you're close enough to see me when I go, if you see me not just as the lead prophet, but as the father in your life, if you see me as who I am, then I'll be able to make sure you get what you want. So my question for myself was during this time of challenge was, am I ever going to see vision like I'd seen it before? Am I ever going to see again? So God gave me a few things I think I can share with you that I believe will help us get to an answer and get to a recovery of sight. Some of the things we have to overcome, one of those that I was concerned about when I first started pastoring was location. Where I was, and then we grew rapidly, and then we outgrew the location. And then anytime a church grows in location, you shouldn't be surprised when hostility from the community happens. The same community you're helping suddenly becomes hostile towards you. They start to believe that they are entitled to your support, and they're not thankful for it. So they start to make it hard for you to continue to be a blessing where you are. In our context, the town turned against us only because we were bringing so many cars. I understood the discomfort. We were invading the neighborhood 3 or 4 days a week. I understood the discomfort. But the hostility was what I didn't understand, because we were feeding them. We were interceding for their children in school. We were supporting their business. And like God, when we moved to the new location, businesses in the area of the church started going out of business wholesale. A Wawa went out of business. Pizza place went out of business. Diner completely went under. Another diner changed completely in what it in its service and all that, because we fueled the place. Pizza parlors that didn't do much business could count on us on Friday nights and Saturday night, order 5, 10, 15 pizzas for the events that were going on. So we were having an impact. But we felt as though, watch what happened. I felt as though that my location was a problem. And I had to guard my enthusiasm for my own vision. So if you're in a place where you feel like, God, if I was in another place. No. God's word is clear. He'll bless you where you are. But you must understand that the blessing comes with responsibility. So a change in location is in your future, but when you're dwelling in your now, you have to watch God work it out where you are to give you that experience to help you understand. Now, second thing I think that really messed with me is when any kind of personal hardship came along. I was, my aunt passed away, and my uncle got sick, and my mother got ill, and during those seasons, the personal hardship, while I'm doing the work, caused me some anxiety. So I was successful in ministry, but there were so many challenges in my personal life. I started to question my vision, question my faith, even at times wonder if this was really what God had called me to do. I'm telling you this stuff so you'll understand that these feelings that you get are phases, not conditions. They're phases in your life. They're not conditions. Even if you want to identify them as seasons, seasons pass. So you don't want to react to a phase like it's a condition. You don't want to react to a season like it is a permanent lifestyle. I hope you're getting this. So I started crying for mercy I didn't expect, instead of being content with the mercy that I had. So I'm crying out for God to do something new. And I was kind of ignoring what God was doing as it related to mercy on my life and on the ministry and on the people that I serve. So you'll go through it. It's not a coincidence. What I'm getting ready to tell you is not a coincidence. It's a strategy of the enemy. Your peers and your contemporaries will tell you while you're in a season where you've lost your passion for your own vision to give up. That give up conversation is disguised as spiritual advice. That give up conversation is disguised as spiritual advice. Don't fall for the distraction. I started to discover there are always going to be distracting voices, and that I had to understand what the purpose of those distracting voices was. Because we tend not to understand that God can use people that we trust. The devil can use people that we trust. So someone you respect in the ministry, and you can't be this naive, but I'm going to tell you what's going on when you're going through and you're feeling challenged on every hand and you want some new mercy from God, you become sensitive to the wrong voices. So someone comes along and tells you gloom and doom, and you internalize that nonsense. And then start to change the way you look at your environment. One of my sons called me this morning and said he can remember I didn't know he was pulling up to his church one day. He's pulling up to his church and he was talking to me on the phone. He says, yeah, I'm about to go into my curse. He was talking about his ministry. And I said, if that's the way you've been talking, I'm not surprised that the ministry has not grown like you wanted it to. Because you're declaring that which God gave you as an assignment and opportunity as a curse. He was speaking a hindrance and then, watch this, upset because the work was hindered. If the shepherd is speaking hindering words, why are we shocked when the fruit of those words, when the harvest of those words is the condition that we spoke? So what do I have to do? I've got to re-energize my faith. And there's no gimmick for this. When we are going through a season where we're being challenged like we are, it's easy to start slipping away from your faith because there's some distance between you and Jesus Christ. Fear slips in, and fear, like faith, finds its strength in proximity. Closer I am to God, stronger my faith is. Further I am away from God, weaker my faith is. Closer I am to God, fear has almost no impact on me. But when I start slipping away from God, fear starts to become an issue in my life. So if I'm fearful in an area of life and ministry, I know that in that particular area, I may have slipped away from my first work, from my relationship with God. So in order to see again, you and I are going to have to make sure we get closer to Jesus once again. Because you can slip away while you're doing the work. I want you to be encouraged. He's calling you to see again. Like Bartimaeus threw aside his garment, I need you to intentionally cast aside, push aside the garment of disappointment that you've been wearing so well. Push aside that garment of failure. Push aside that spirit of fear, because that's not the spirit God has given you. So, man and woman of God, leaders of industry and business, if you're going to shift back to passion, back to enthusiasm, you got to come to Jesus again. It's not the vision, it's the distance between you and Christ that is causing much of your problem. Admit you had a loss of sight like I did. And I told God I wanted my sight back. I've said that 4 or 5 times in 30 years. I want my sight back. I'm reminding you, you can see again. I'm so glad you joined me today. I hope this was helpful. Please write me. Let me know what you think. I want to hear about your vision being restored. And God